Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching the AMARIAN talk show, and I'm your host, AMARIAN. Today's guest is a best-selling author and master life coach, Sarah Centrella. Hello, Sarah.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here. Can't wait for this conversation. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we're very excited. As I told you before, I spent 2 hours in your Instagram. I was just scrolling. I'm like, oh my God, it's so interesting. This interview is going to be incredible. I can't wait. So, Sarah, I want to start from the first question. What's a master life coach means?
Yeah, so for me, I've been coaching for over a decade. So I think technically it has to do with how many hours you've coached. So I definitely have hit that mark by a long shot. But more personally, it refers to the fact that I have actually created my own coaching system that I coach and I train and certify life coaches on that system as well. It's a 9-step system to create anything you want in life, to live your dreams and create success. So that's specifically kind of what it refers to for me.
Oh, that sounds so exciting. And Sarah, before I will ask you everything about that 9 steps and about your book, obviously I have a lot of questions. I just want to know more about you. And I think our viewers also want to know more about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think probably the best place for me to start is sharing just a little bit of my backstory, because it really relates to everything that I do now. And it started way back in 2008 when I found out that my husband at the time, had been my high school sweetheart, we'd been together for half our life, for 16 years. I found out that he had been having an affair and literally was on a text message while he was in the shower. And it completely exploded my entire life, as you might imagine. And we, unfortunately, were in the middle of the housing bubble. So kind of everything that could go wrong in my life was going wrong. We had completely lost everything financially. And then this was the implosion of life as I knew it, of my marriage. I was a stay-at-home mom. I did not have $5 to my name, didn't have access to the bank accounts. So it was this just incredible wreckage of everything that I knew about my life that happened in an instant overnight. And one of the things that I kind of will never forget is that night, as I was just literally laying on the floor, sobbing and just thinking, I can't do this. I don't know how to get up and function tomorrow. And remember way back then, we didn't have social media. So I was the only person I had ever known who was going through anything like this. I didn't even know another single parent.
I'm having goosebumps right now.
So I just felt like I was the only person in the world going through it. And I just remember this sense of well, what if you can? What if you can figure this out? And it was really bad several months. It wasn't a magical answer, obviously, but it was enough to kind of get me literally and figuratively up off the floor to start to figure out how to build a life from scratch, essentially, with 3 kids. I had twins that were a year old and we had a 5-year-old. And so it was it was survival. But I think the thing that got me through it was little by little, as I started selling everything I owned to get the little apartment. I was on food stamps, just all of this stuff, just literally trying to struggle to survive. I started imagining, because I'd never thought of my life in this way, I started just imagining, okay, well, if I have to rebuild my life anyway, why don't I make it what I want? And what do I want? And so that kind of just started this journey that I've been on ever since, of building a life I love. You can kind of see some of it behind me. Where it all started.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I was having goosebumps during all that monologue that you had. That's incredible. I mean, the incredible part that you overcame all that. So I think that's the part I would like you to share with us.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how you came to what you have today?
Yeah, and I think, like I said in the beginning, it was so much survival because the first year, I'm going to be really honest, was very dark. It was not. It was a difficult divorce. It was all of the situation was very difficult, and so I think as a coping mechanism, and I didn't know anything about self help back then. Literally, my only exposure was watching the Oprah show back when it used to be on. So I didn't know any. I didn't have any skills on how to be positive or how to create things I wanted, but I was kind of creating an alternate universe in my head, if you will,
Nice.
that was of a life that I wanted or experiences that I wanted. And looking back and knowing what I know now, I know that I was kind of using that as an escape tool almost because kind of the day to day reality was so dark and so difficult. And so instead of focusing on it, I was focusing on, well, wouldn't it be great to someday be able to take my kids on vacation and not have to struggle the way I'm struggling? And what started happening, which now I know is kind of the magic sauce, especially to manifesting, was that the more that I focused on what I wanted and let my brain go there in a way that wasn't kind of locked down with all of our blocks that we can have, and it was the safe and happy place, the more positive things started happening. And when I got my job, I made my first future board, I call it, and I put it at my workstation. And all day, every day, I just imagine, like, what if I'm this woman? What if I'm a woman who's successful? What if I'm a good mom? What if I can get my kids a house? I could take them on vacation. And so all of those things began to motivate me in an incredible, powerful way where I just was like, I will do whatever it takes to make this happen. And it was about a year and a half after that really terrible day that things actually started showing up in my life in a crazy way. And that first board that I made, 60% of it manifested that year. And all of a sudden it was just like, what's happening? Like I didn't ever think it would work.
Wow.
I was just doing it to feel better. I never thought any of it was going to work. So I was as shocked as anything. I was like, wait, what's happening right now?
Great.
So
Uh,
it has been that way ever since. I mean, now I've manifested 10 boards. I've manifested multiple careers, 3 best-selling books, taken my kids to 7 countries, flown on private jets, like all of it. So it's been an incredible journey for sure.
Great. So I think our viewers would like to hear more about the manifesting part because now it's such a popular word and people speak about manifesting, but everybody speak about that, but no one knows what to do. And as
Exactly.
I know, it's like a certain system that you have to follow, and you have to create your own system. So tell us about that, please.
Yeah. So I think maybe knowing nothing about it probably served me back in the beginning because what I did turned out to be really unique and really, really different. And the very first place I started, which the viewers can do this as well, is I started just asking myself questions. I thought, well, since I don't know what my future looks like, and I have to create it anyway, like, what do I want in all these areas of my life? Like, how do I want to be as a woman? What does success look like? If I had unlimited funds, how would I spend that money? Would I go on vacation? Would I get the nice shoes and bag? So I really started defining things that typically stay very generic for most people. And then I started asking myself, well, who are the people that I want and need in my life to help me go to the next level, to teach me what I need to know? And so that board wound up having the expression of everything I wanted in every area of my life. And none of it was just random material things. That's a very important part. It was all about a life. And you can probably see some of the pictures behind me and you can kind of see what I'm talking about. It's almost like when they start manifesting, that becomes my photo album. That becomes my memory album. Like it's true life. Like I did not want to just manifest a nice car and then have everything else in my life be crap, right? Like I wanted to manifest the life and lifestyle that supported the nice car. I
Exactly.
wanted to up level in every area. And so when I went to look for the pictures, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for very specific things that aligned with everything that I had already taken the time to identify. what it was that I wanted. So they were almost just a match of what was in my head. And that
Wow.
turns out to be an incredible key that most people, actually, really no one has ever done in traditional vision boards before, ever. And so how I find the pictures is on Pinterest, because Pinterest it's the best place for photography on the internet. Uh, and it makes a very big difference because that it has to connect. The
Yeah.
vision that I've created in my mind needs to be represented accurately on my board. So that's kind of one of those tangible tools of how I began manifesting, and now how I teach manifesting. And it has worked, of course, for me, but it's worked for thousands and thousands of people following this method across the world. My son, I started teaching him this stuff when he was 6 years
Wow.
old. And
Great.
he's manifested his ultimate dream. He plays football for the Oregon Ducks, which is his dream since he was 6 years old. So
Wow.
it absolutely works. That's just one of the steps, but it's an important one. It's an important one to be
Yeah.
accurate about what it is you want, and to go at it from a place of like, this is the life that I want. This is what makes me happy. This is what is in line with that happiness, and not just going for like random Ferraris and random mansions and stuff. Like that's not what I'm about.
I like it. I like that you connect everything with the lifestyle you want, not the material things, because material things, they can come and go. They don't bring
Yeah.
you that much happiness as they bring, like in your head when you think about
Right.
them, right?
Right.
What you want emotions, you want happy
Yes.
memories.
At
Yeah,
the end of the day, what we all want is the life, right? We all want to feel
exactly.
like, oh, this is what it feels like to live my best life in all areas. Like, we want a career that's fulfilling, that pays us great, that we love. We want to be surrounded by friends and family and mentors. We want to be able to do the fun and shiny things as well. We want
Exactly.
to look and feel good. We want to know how to take care of our mind and our body. We want to know how to bring ourselves joy and value that. So those are sneak peek. Those are the 5 categories that all of my boards have on them, because it's really important to go at it from that balanced place of, what does my life look and feel like?
So you said about balance. What is balance for you? What is life balance for you?
I'm so passionate about this. And I'm so glad you asked it, because I think there's a lot of messaging out there right now that says, if you want to be successful, especially if you want to be an entrepreneur, forget balance. You're never going to have it.
No.
And I think that's insane.
Yeah,
I think that's
exactly.
crazy. Like, who is going to want to just have a career and have that be the only thing you have in life, or whatever? Like,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but we're multiple dimensional people. Us women we have so many dimensions. Like, why would we only
exactly.
lock ourselves into one and say I can only have one? But the way that happens is because people aren't identifying what matters to them in the rest of their life, quite honestly, and they're not putting focus on it. So when I teach someone how to manifest, or how to build a board, or how to create the future they want, we go through 5 categories. We talk about financial abundance. So of course, that's going to be the shiny stuff. Some of it you see here, but it's all about relationships too. That's all the people in our life, because that makes a big difference on if our mental well-being feels supported or
Definitely.
not. And of course, physical and mental health are incredibly important. We have to know where we're going and what our goals are in that, and work on it on a regular basis. But then one of the categories that I really find doesn't exist for most Americans, especially just because we're kind of trained to be workaholics, is this category that I call passions and joys, which
Yeah,
is, what makes me happy?
yeah,
What makes
truly
me
happy.
happy? Like, what just brings me joy? And how do I value that enough to make sure that that is part of my life? And I was actually just on a coaching call right before we started with a group, and we were talking about how incredible it is once you bring that element into your life and understand the value it brings, because it puts you in a pocket, whether that's an hour, whether it's 20 minutes a week, whatever, but it puts you in a pocket to experience joy that cleanses everything else that you're going through in your life for that amount of time. And to me, that's like next level meditation in a way,
Yeah.
and something that most of us don't do, don't value, don't make time for. But when you do, then you start to feel the balance in your life, and you start to understand how you get there, why it's valuable, and you protect it. And you have to be very intentional in that.
Exactly. And I think it's also one of the biggest parts of manifestation. Things come to your life through joy, especially
Yes.
for women.
Yes.
Like, especially, it's like
Yeah.
such a feminine energy. It comes from joy, it comes from happiness, when you're content, when you feel good. Like, I love that part of your training. And by the way,
Yeah.
tell us more about your training, please, about that 9 stages you just mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. So in my first book, Hustle Believe Receives, these are the two babies. These are my other two babies. I have three kids, but these are the babies. So the first book, the orange one, Hustle Believe Receive, I came up with the 8 steps at that point that I had kind of gone through to turn my life around essentially and to create this new life that I was living. And it had originally started with a blog where I was kind of sharing the journey live as it was unfolding. And people were really interested at that. They're like, okay, how do you go from a single mom on food stamps to, being courtside at an NBA game or advancing your career the way that I was doing through using these tools. So I sat down and was like, okay, exactly how did I do it? And that book became the 8 steps, which the first one is what I call Dream It. And that is the ability to scope out the best case scenario for my future in all categories. So most people stop living intentionally or stop creating their future, honestly, in their early 30s. That's just how it is for almost everybody, because we're trained all the way up to our 20s. Ask this question: what do you want to be when you grow up? So you're forward thinking. And then you get to your 30s when you have most of that stuff, and all the forward thinking stops.
Yeah.
Everyone stops planning. They're just like,
Right.
oh, retirement's 30 years out. And then for the next 10 years, you're head down in an everyday life. And so what I teach is like, how do I build out the next 5 years in the very best case scenario in all areas of my life? And I'm doing that continuously. So I'm never hitting these plateaus of, oh, this is life. Like, is this all there is? Because every year that I'm doing it, it's growing, it's expanding, I'm pushing that envelope. And the whole time I know what I'm working for. And that's a game changer. So that's just one of those 8. And then, of course, the boards that you see behind me, I call that one See It, which is all about the visual element of connecting your dreams to the first version of its physical equivalent, which is a picture, an image. And then we do a lot of mindset training. So there's a section in there called Think It. And then in the newer book, which is all about the future boards, I talked a lot in there about blocks. So I've added that as the 9th step because typically whenever you're dreaming really big, those negative thoughts come in right behind it and try to sabotage. So we got to know what to do. We got to know how to remove them.
Օմորֆիա բարձրակարգ գեղեցկության սրահն իր դռներն է բացել բոլոր նրանց համար, ովքեր հոգատար եւ խնամքով են վերաբերվում իրենց արտաքին տեսքին։ Գեղեցկության ծառայություններ, վարսահարդարում, մատնահարդարում, պեդիկյուր, դիմահարդարում, թարթիչների լիցք, լամինացիա եւ այլն։ Խորհրդատվության եւ գրանցվելու համար զանգահարեք 818 649 10 19։
J-Lux Boutique ժամանակակից եւ դասական ոճի նմուշներ, ներմուծող եվրոպական տարբեր երկրներից, որոնք կգոհացնեն ցանկացած տարիքի կանանց պահանջները իրենց բարձր որակով, վառ գույներով ամենօրյա եւ երեկոյան զգեստներ։ J-Lux Boutique.
LA Smart Blinds հիշեք այս անունը շերտավարակույրներ շուկայի նորագույն լիթիում մարտկոցներով մեր համակարգերը կառավարվում են Google եւ Alexa համակարգերով գույների հսկայական ընտրանի LA Smart Blinds շուկայի ամենացածր գները մեր մասնագետների օգնությամբ ձեր առանձնատները աշխատավայրը բնակարանը կստանա բոլորովին նոր տեսք զանգահարեք 818 281 81 36 LA Smart Blinds.
So about blocks, let's stay here because it's super important thing. You can want whatever you want in this life, but that block, if you don't work with that block, that nothing will happen. So So actually, it's like very important thing. If you want to manifest, if you want to make your dreams come true, focus
Yes.
on that block. So give us couple advice about that topic.
Yeah, I'm really passionate about this one too, because it was one that I would personally had struggled with. All of us. I've
All of
never
us.
met or coached anyone who doesn't have blocks. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll just put that out there. I find that there's the two most common blocks that show up in almost everyone I've ever worked with, are money. And
Yeah.
yes, I've worked with tons of professional athletes and millionaires, so it does not equate to a dollar amount in your bank account. You could still have blocks that are preventing you from reaching the very next level of your success. And then worthiness. And they show up in all kinds of like numerous ways that sometimes you would never connect the two. But at the root of them, it's typically either lack or fear, which tends to have to do with money, which is stopping abundance from happening.
Yeah.
Or it has to do with kind of the personal value that I place on myself. Do I deserve success? Do I deserve love? Am I worthy of that? And if those blocks exist, and they usually do, and they usually are traced way back to honestly early childhood and beyond, then almost no matter how hard we work on the surface level or from a hustle standpoint, we're not getting the payoff that the work should give us. In other words, that block, subconscious or not, is standing between us and the reward of getting the thing we're working hard for. And that is the most frustrating spot to be in. If you've been there, you know it. I have 100% been there. And so
everyone.
it takes a bit of conscious and subconscious work to move past it. And from the conscious standpoint, the easiest way to find it is to spend a day fantasizing or daydreaming about something huge that you would love to experience, something that you couldn't do right now if you wanted to, because you probably couldn't afford it. Let's say, like, oh, I want my birthday on a yacht in the south of France with all my best friends. Maybe that's a far-fetched dream or whatever, and you kind of can't figure out how to make that happen. Just let yourself daydream about it and think about all the elements of it and just let yourself get excited. And then pay very close attention over the next 24 hours of the thoughts that come in and try to shut that dream down. And that will tell you right there what your blocks are. So if immediately you start thinking, well, I could never afford that, or I'm not the person that goes on the yacht with the friends, or whatever, those are tying right down to the big blocks that have prevented you from dreaming big in lots of different areas. That's just one little example. But if it's preventing you in that little example, then it's preventing you from dreaming about 3 promotions up the ladder, or starting that new business, or taking the opportunity that feels a little scary. It's the same thing. So knowing what it is super helpful. And that's an easy kind of hack to get there. And then do some subconscious work. Really start training your brain on the thoughts that are going to get you what you want, and start paying attention to all those thoughts that are telling you otherwise. Change them and put them in the direction of where you want to go. And then I'm a big believer in things like meditation and Reiki and some other things that kind of help that subconscious block get pulled out too.
Great. You mentioned your clients, and I'm curious, what was your most challenging case you've ever had?
That's a good question. What's interesting is I've coached all different types of people from literally all over the world. I think I have clients in 26 countries over the years. And I've worked with every socioeconomic background, just all of it. And I would say the most challenging person to coach, and this would be generic, I haven't had a lot of them, but the few that I have are the ones who are just uncoachable, who are essentially in that space of either complete denial and unwilling to kind of hear the truth about what is coming up in our sessions, or are unwilling to do the work. And I'm all about the work. Like, I will tell them exactly, okay, this is what you do. to get a new result. And if they're not serious about it, then I will terminate that relationship because I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste their time. But that's very rare. I would say in 12 years of coaching, it's probably been like 3 or 4 people. It's pretty rare, like, because the results are so crazy if you do this work that people start getting shifts to happen in week 1, week 2, of our 9-week session.
So
by
tell us
then you're
about that
in,
results. So I'm so curious. Tell us about the results before and after. But again, without names, we don't need
Yeah,
details
yeah.
because it's a private thing. We understand everything. Yeah, but something like before and after because we all
Oh
love
my
it.
gosh. Endless. But I would say probably the one, and I just was having this literally before we joined our call, because I have a standing call right before this. And I had all the feels because as a coach, to teach someone how to change their thoughts, to teach them how to recognize when those thoughts are self-sabotaging or they're negative or they're tearing themselves down, which I don't know about you, but us women are so good about just that mental, man. We can just destroy our self-confidence with it. So once you hear yourself doing it and you now have a tool to completely change that thought, and I call it mental tennis. So for everyone, this
Nice.
is a very quick, easy tool that works incredibly well. And when you have a negative thought, just think about the exact opposite, as if you were on a tennis ball and you're just hitting it back. Nope, here's the opposite. Such an easy trick, works magic, and it starts to create the opposite outcome instead. So this morning was a great example of something I hear all the time from clients, is someone who had known that they were being, had those negative thoughts and did not know what to do about them, maybe their whole life, now has been practicing these tools for a week or 2 and can feel a complete shift in just how their life runs on a daily basis, like the thoughts that go through, the energy that comes out, how much more generally, positive they're feeling about things, how they're taking risks now that they weren't taking before, how they're taking opportunities they weren't before. And it's really incredible. And the longer you practice it, the beautiful part is that it actually changes the core belief.
Wow.
So over time, if I practice that, on a continuous basis, I actually stop believing the negative things about myself and I start to truly believe the positive. And when that happens, that's legitimate transformation. You don't ever go back. You are new in that way. Yeah, it's amazing.
Love it. We definitely gonna use that tool. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about your book that gonna come out very soon.
Yes,
80
yes.
lessons. So tell us more about that book, please.
Yes, so I'm so excited for that one. It actually comes out in 19 days. So it comes out October 18th. Everybody can go grab it and pre-order it on Amazon. That's what it will look like when it comes out.
Nice.
It's called All the Things I Wish I Knew, 80 Life Lessons for Women. And that really came out of my private coaching circle that I've been running for 3 years, where I coach women from around the world every week live on a Zoom. And they have taught me so many things that us women have in common with each other across the world. And so a lot of those lessons are ones that we talk about a lot in circle. And yeah, so now I'm excited to be able to share them with the world. It's amazing.
Nice. Can you share a couple of lessons here?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the very first one that comes up a lot when we're talking in circle is, how do I self-advocate? Like, how do I speak up for myself and create boundaries and do it in a way that is effective? Mm-hmm. In other words, the person who I'm talking to will hear me, and then a new outcome can come from this. So that is one of the lessons that I'm super proud of. There's 5 different categories. So I talk about parenting in there. It's the first real writing I've done on parenting, and relationships and finance, and on being a woman, on being a boss chick. So there's lessons kind of across the board in all of those various categories. Some of them are fun and maybe even a little bit silly, and some of them are more serious on, how do I change my mindset, and surround myself with positive people, things like that.
Nice. I'm very excited to read that book.
Yes, I'm gonna send you a signed copy, girl.
Wow! Lucky
Heck
me, lucky
yes.
me. Thank you. That's great. Thank you. And the last question of my talk show, it's like I ask that each guest, is it politician, singer, actor, psychologist, doesn't matter. I always ask that questions. What's your core values in your life, and what's your mission?
Well, that's a great question. From a core value standpoint, I think living a life that is in alignment with who I am and what I want, and being true to that, kind of regardless of if it works for others or if it doesn't. I think, at 47 years old, it's taken me a while to kind of understand that it's okay to live my life as I want to live it, and to be authentic and true to that. And that some people will get it and some people won't. And I think embracing that has changed everything for me, because it's allowed me to show up as myself in everything I do. And to not feel like I have to be different for different people or be what someone wants me to be. And I hope that I'm teaching that to my children as well. And then on that second piece, was the second piece of the question, sorry.
Values and mission.
Mission. Oh God, my mission is to teach people how to live a life they love, how to live their dream life. I truly believe that every single person, every one of your listeners out there, can create and live a life they are obsessed with, a life that they love, a life that is fulfilling on every single level. And so to teach people how to do that and give them the skill set to do that when maybe they didn't have it before is everything. That's why I do what I do, and I love it so much.
Great. Love it. Thank you very much. Thank you for this interview. I think it was very motivational, insightful, and now we gonna do the mental tennis, the boards, and definitely read all your books. Thank you very much, Sarah.
Thank you so much. It was amazing. Thank you for this opportunity, and I cannot wait to hear what you think. I'm gonna get that book out to you right now.
Thank you. Thank you very
All
much.
right. Thanks so much.
Dear viewers, thank you for watching, and see you next week.